Hey, I'm Vince with Pathogend of Georgia. Today I want to talk to you about biosecurity and the future of disinfectant. What is biosecurity? Biosecurity is basically prevention of germs and pathogens coming into your workspace, your corporation, schools, or home and causing an outbreak or a large absentee rate. Talk about some histories, how one event happens and the second event counters it to prevent it from happening again. In the 70s, we had corporations that had VIPs that were either kidnapped or threatened to be kidnapped and held for ransom in some assassinations attempts. In the 70s, computers came around to prevent bad things from happening. Cybersecurity was created. In the 80s and 90s, then we had malware created and software for that. In the 1990s, we had agricultural biosecurity. Though a challenge, it was probably around decades before that. Basically, agricultural biosecurity is preventing certain funguses, certain insects, and certain plants from coming into their area, growing their agriculture and destroying them. So that's been around for a while, and countries around the world have been doing it for decades. And then 2001, we had 9/11. Countering that, we had TSA to help prevent that from happening again. Now, after the pandemic, the industrial world needs to learn biosecurity. The agricultural world has been doing this for a while, but outside the hospital and research areas, the rest of the industrial US needs to learn biosecurity. How can we keep the germs away from our staff and our families and our employees? We want to prevent an outbreak or a large absentee. Has this happened before? Sure, lots of times, but because it's more worldly, you may not have heard about it. Just in 2000 alone, that decade, there was over 70 outbreaks around the world. There was hand, foot, and mouth, Q fever, yellow fever, Rift Valley fever, meningitis twice, Ebola 4 times, the bubonic plague 4 times, measles 7 times, cholera 10 times, dengue fever 16 times. But as a world, we've had 7 pandemics or outbreaks throughout the world. Starting with 2002 to 2004, we had the SARS outbreak. In 2009, most of us still remember, we had the swine flu pandemic. 2012, we had the Middle Eastern SARS. 2013, we had the Western Africa Ebola virus. 2016, Zika. 2017 through 18, the US had a huge flu outbreak. And then obviously 2020, we had the COVID-19 pandemic, which affected the world. So this has happened once. I'm surprised it hasn't happened previously. What can we do to prevent it? Corporations, schools, university, transits, they need to have a biosecurity program. They need to use professional people that have been doing this industry for a while. They need to use the right chemicals, and they need to use the right tools to disperse those chemicals. I'm going to have a few more videos in the future about different types of chemicals and some of my suggestions. But what I think schools, transit, and large corporations, even franchises, they need to have a biosecurity program in place on how are we going to disinfect weekly, maybe daily, depending on your industry. Weekly for sure. Quarterly, depending on your industry. Transit, you will not be able to do it quarterly. They're going to have to do it daily, if not weekly. Schools, I could see some schools get by with disinfecting. When I see disinfecting, I'm not just talking wiping down the desktops and the light switches and the door handles. I'm talking whole room disinfectant. And there's certain tools out there, and I'll bring that up in other videos. Different types of systems, different types of chemicals. Some are EPA registered and why that is so important. So today I just want to bring up biosecurity. If you're involved with policy, you should start looking at creating a biosecurity plan for prevention. And then should you have another outbreak, you're already one step ahead of how to implement that policy to keep your absentee rates as low as they possibly can. Hope you enjoyed this short video.